Welcome, everyone. You are about to embark on a journey through the universe as you indulge in this extraordinary essence of enlightened, empowered, evolved. Let the show begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Just in time. Greetings, I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I know everyone's doing well, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again, and you know why. Because I have another amazing guest. I always have amazing guests. I'm so fortunate to have these amazing guests that continue to add more and more value to this podcast. My next guest is synonymous with spiritual awakening, coaching, and just a whole lot more. There's so much here. I don't want to even start naming anything. But without further ado, I introduce to you Tamisha Arrendell, right?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. How
I'm
are
very
you doing,
excited to be
Tamisha?
here. I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And thank you again. I just want to say that I'm a firm believer that time is one of our most precious assets. And for you to choose to spend some of your time, a moment of your time in the history of your timeline here with me on Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved, I just want to extend again my sincerest gratitude to you.
Wow. I feel it. Received. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So let's just get right into it. So give us a little bit of I know what I read here, but there's some things I just want to ask all kind of things, but just to let you put it in your own words, give us a little backstory, front story, middle story in regard to your spiritual journey, your self-discovery. I know you said one thing in here too that really resonates with me. Everything does. But A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I have his book Outwitting the Devil and the Power of Now. I love Eckhart Tolle. Just give us a little insight.
Yeah, sure, sure. I love that we're diving right into the deep end. That's
Yes.
uh that's my favorite part of the pool.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah. So I was an atheist my entire adult life up until Eckhart Tolle. There was a book that was actually referred to me by a dear friend of mine. I met her while I was in real estate in New York City, and she had this feeling that this book would deeply resonate with me, and I trusted her insights, and so I was like, okay, I'll listen to this book, and so I listened to it on Audible. I think this was like 2018-ish, around there. And this book completely changed my life and my perspective and my worldview. And it just shattered everything that I believed to be true. I was already a self-development person, if you will. And I
Right.
loved everything self-development. I first discovered The Secret back in 2006. I'm sure you heard of The Secret. And so I
Yes.
was I was somewhat familiar with those things, but I still didn't really have a concept of like, God, the universe. It kind of seemed a little too woo woo out there for me. So
Right.
reading that book, and I remember specifically Eckhart talks about the pain body and trauma and just all of those concepts and being present. It was so new to me,
Right.
but it resonated on a physical level. I felt it in my body, and that was the first time I felt presence in my body. I was a
Right.
person that was always on the go and hustling and moving. And again, I was in New York City at that time, and life just moves faster out there
Right.
than it does in LA, which is where I am now. And that book just really sparked a curiosity to dig deeper within myself. And I was then introduced to meditation. And that is really when the spiritual journey began for me. I used to think of meditation as a waste of time. You're just kind of sitting there doing nothing. And I
Right.
quickly realized that is not the case. And so meditation is really what sparked self-awareness and discovery, and recognizing that I don't have to let my thoughts control me. I can take a
Right.
moment and step back and actually examine what's going on and not be so reactive, and cultivating that sense of presence through having that moment to pause
Yes.
before I respond, or I don't even have to respond,
Right.
and
Being
being able to
the observer, if I might add. And
exactly.
excuse me. Yes.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So truly, that book and then meditation was the gateway uh, to my spiritual journey, and
Right.
what I guess would call my spiritual awakening. So that went on for a couple years, and yeah, I had another major shift last year. So we can get into that if you'd like, but that's kind of the intro to it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I want to hear about that major shift, but allow me to interject for a brief second because
sure.
I want to hear you. Um, you said a lot of things that resonate with me. First being when you first read that Eckhart Tolle book, all those were new concepts and they were kind of shaking you up. That's the same experience that I had when I first read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The concept, just the simple concept. Now it's simple now about being present. I didn't understand it. All there is now. What do you mean all there is now? Everything else is just in your mind. I didn't get it when I first read it, but I have cultivated myself and developed myself into being a person that even if I don't understand something, if I have that feeling that I should expose myself to this information, then I'm going to go ahead and just go through the motions and read it. And I haven't been wrong. Later on, a light bulb will click on, and then that information will make sense to me. But when I first read it, it was foreign to me. If I'm to just put it in a term, I would say that I just wasn't on the level of consciousness to receive even that.
Mhm.
So I resonate with that with you, and just the feelings that you got, that's what I got too. I got these strange feelings like, why am I feeling like this? And that book, along with several other books that I read prior and after that, they challenged and shook up everything that I was indoctrinated to believe, everything I was cultivated to believe growing up in a very religious family, fear-based, limited belief family. And it's not to to try to demean anything. It's just that's now I realize from the contrast, that's where I was,
Mhm.
was very superstitious about things and very quick to vilify and demonize what I didn't understand.
Mhm.
And because that's what I was exposed to around me. So
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah, go ahead with your story. I want to hear more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like last year, you said something happened. What happened?
Yeah, before I get into that, I
Okay.
should share that it was during the pandemic, and I'm
Right.
sure a lot of shifts happened for a lot of people during that time.
Right.
It's like you
Right.
either
Right.
went further in or, I don't know. But
Right.
for me, I definitely went further in. I spent a lot of hours in meditation and reading and all of those things and just really uncovering, what is truth for me. And that's ultimately what I would call myself, is a truth seeker. And that is what I
Mm.
am after, is what is the truth, what feels true to me, and
Yes.
getting to the bottom of that. And what I mean by that is also what is the truth as far as like my trauma, my limiting beliefs, what is holding me back? What am I doing to self-sabotage myself when it comes to my coaching business, my
Right.
relationships,
Right.
all of
Right.
those things. Ultimately, I believe that's truth. All of that is getting to the truth so you can get to the core of who you are. And that's what's going to bring you closer, in my opinion, to God. So that's
Absolutely.
ultimately the journey I was on. And so it really came to like a pinnacle in 2020 when we were all kind of inside trying to figure out, what's going on. And
Right.
that's kind of where I was, just trying to figure out what's going on, and practicing that.
Right.
And I remembered at that point, I recognized like, okay, there is true, there's evil in this world. There's good, there's
Right.
evil. And
Right.
I was going down all of these rabbit holes and discovering different things that were going on. And it just really shattered a lot of ideologies that I recognized I was kind of living in a bubble. And it was like a rude awakening, if you will.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I remember at one point, I had this very visceral experience where I remember I was in my bathroom. I was not on psychedelics. I was completely sober. I always have to preface this. And I was brushing my teeth, and I had this feeling of unconditional love in my heart. And it was
Wow.
so overwhelming. It brought me to
Wow.
tears. And I
Wow.
remember just feeling presence and love, and just, it was just really, really powerful.
Right.
And it was like all consuming. And it lasted maybe like a couple of seconds. And then once I became aware of like, whoa, what is happening? It was gone.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that was, but that just felt like that felt like love. What was
Right.
that?
Right.
And so the next day I had this urge to text a friend that I had known since high school. And I explained to him what had happened. And my dear friend, he mentioned to me that his grandmother had just passed away and he was praying for her. And then he had a dream that he should pray for those friends that are closest to him instead of her, because she had already passed on. And
Hmm.
so he had the call to pray for me. And we hadn't spoken in quite some time. And so for him, it was like he couldn't believe it because I texted him out of the blue. I'm sharing this experience. And he's like, I just prayed for you and you felt this unconditional love in your heart and your
Right.
body. So
You
in his
picked up the
mind,
signal. You picked up
yeah,
his
yeah,
frequency, his vibration.
exactly,
Go ahead. I
exactly.
apologize again, but that just excited me because I
Yeah,
read about this. I heard about
it's
this,
wild.
and I know it to be true.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So for me, being on this journey and being so open to truth, being so open to just wanting to feel connected. At that time, I called it the universe. I wanted to be connected. I wanted to
Right.
raise my vibration, raise my frequency, and I was into the manifestation and all of those things.
Right.
And so my friends told me, I prayed for you and you felt love. Like this is amazing. So
Right.
it brought him closer to God, and he's a Christian.
Right.
So it deepened his faith, and so it became part of his testimony.
Hmm.
And so for me at that time, it kind of went over my head. I didn't really resonate with the idea of prayer. I didn't
Right.
really resonate with Christianity. I was
Right.
not that I was against religion, but I was an atheist my whole life. I'm just dipping my toe into spirituality. So I'm just like, this is a lot. I just know what I felt and let's just see where this goes, you know?
Right.
And so I kind of just tabled that and went on with my life. And fast forward to last year, and that is the shift that happened in my life.
Okay.
And I'm just going about my life, and I came across a post by a dear friend of mine who basically shared her testimony. And again, I'd never even seen a testimony before, so I didn't even know what I was watching. And
Right.
her and I had recorded meditations in the past. She had hosted a lot of retreats. She was into the things I was into as far as the universe, manifestation, crystals, all of
Right.
the things.
Right.
And so she shares her testimony, and it gave me the same type of shattering of paradigm the way Eckhart Tolle did all those years ago when I was an atheist. And
Wow.
she basically shared with me that I'll just kind of paraphrase, but the few things that really resonated with me is that she said she was on a journey of truth, and she had the courage to open up the satanic book. And the
Hmm.
satanic book says that you can be God, you are God, I am.
Right.
And it made her realize, a lot of the things that we talk about in spirituality are rooted in that. And
Right.
if there's a God, there has to be a devil. And who created the universe? We're praying to, or not praying, but we are manifesting to a universe. But who created the universe? God.
Right.
So she
Right.
was talking about all of these concepts, and I'm just sitting here like, wait, what? I can manifest. And
Right.
so it made me recognize I was still very much living in my ego, very much living in this sense of I have control. I can
Right.
do anything. I have all
Mhm.
the power. It's all me, 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 me. And I was very much clinging on to this identity of I am a spiritual person.
Mhm.
And that really humbled me. It humbled
Right.
me. And I just remember falling to my knees and crying and crying and crying. And I felt like I was so close to the truth, but I was being deceived, is the best way to describe it. And it made me
Right.
realize all this time I believed in evil, but I just still didn't believe in God. I
Right.
just believed like in the universe, and I can just order whatever I want and I just manifest it and it comes to me. But I didn't
Right.
really think about like, well, who is God? And what about prayer? I didn't pray. I didn't believe in that.
Right.
And so I finally just surrendered and I called my friend and I explained what was going on. And he said, why don't you just try praying to God and opening your heart? So I
Mm.
had a lot of resistance to that, but I tried it. I prayed. I was open. And Lutz, I kid you not, the very next day I was on my way to work and I had the same experience I had a few years ago where my heart opened and I felt that same unconditional love. And it was just, I'm sorry, it's very
No,
overwhelming.
no, go ahead. Take
It
your time.
just,
Take your time.
it just made me realize, like, wow, like God is real.
Right,
Like, I am not in control. It is, it is not me. I have to surrender. And it just really humbled me.
right.
And it just changed everything for me. So that was the shift that happened a year ago, last year in February. And yeah, that's where I'm at now in my spiritual journey. So it's been quite a ride. So
Wow, yes. And
yeah,
one
thank you for
important,
listening.
yeah, yes, no, thank you for sharing and opening yourself up and being vulnerable here. Here, this is a safe space for that too. Um, and I know that even the people that follow and listen to me will sympathize and send you nothing but love. And that's what I am too, and support and support. One thing that really stood out, well, everything did, but one thing that stood out to me that you said was basically, I don't know if I can say it word for word, but just your truth and what resonates with you. And that's very important because what one person may feel, the other person maybe not. What connects with you? What connects with your spirit? What, and that's where I am in my journey. Like I can listen to and engage with people with a multitude of various beliefs, and it doesn't mean that, oh, I can't talk to you because you don't think like me and this like that. No, it's not that. If I feel that you are elevating yourself and your spiritual journey is unique to you and you can feel the intentions, that's all. That's it. It's not like we have to believe the same or think the same, exactly the same. I think that just different people, depending on life, is one thing that you said too. I kept picking up from you as you kept on saying my perspective. That's important because life is perspective. What one person may see as bad, another person may not see that. So yeah. So I believe that you're aligning, and the important thing in my perspective is that you're open and you're aligning and fine tuning, you know, what's connected to your peace, your serenity, your love that's in you. So that's amazing. And
Appreciate that.
yeah, going through the journey, whatever you've been exposed to, whatever things, I believe that God aligns us what we're supposed to be in line with intentionally. It's just like you said, the surrender. And that I can really resonate with, instead of thinking that I just have all the answers and I have to know every step and just know from an ego standpoint, like you said, that I just know this is it and I'm just rock solid in what I believe or what I think I know right now. It's like I'm open for flow. I'm open for God to speak to me. I'm open for,
Mhm.
things to happen, for other people to speak to me, and see, maybe that might resonate, something might resonate that they say, or it might affect me in such a level, like, you know, like you said, you feel this deepness, and you can't make that up. Just like you couldn't make it up that your friend was sending out, you know, whatever he was doing in his prayer, and you felt that. So you couldn't have made that up. That wasn't a coincidence. So what I'm saying is that things happen in life that help us to clear a path you know, to, our peace and to which way that we want to see God or feel God or and all that. So I think it's amazing. I think your journey is amazing and it's going to continue unfolding. It's not set in one way. Um, like I said, the way that you are, that in my perspective, from what I've learned, is you're open. You're open for different ideals. You're open for different perspectives, and then you decipher that within your own soul to know if this is feels right, you know, to you, and you resonate with that. And I think that's very important that we,
Yeah.
yes, yes. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing is it's, my worldview has shifted,
Right.
from not believing in anything as an atheist. And, I remember growing up in high school, my best friend was a Christian, and I
Right.
remember almost feeling a sense of like jealousy of how devoted she was to her faith. And I would go with her to church in high school,
Right.
and it would be fun. But I remember thinking to myself, how can you believe in something you can't see? How
Right.
can you have faith and just trust in something that's not tangible? That didn't seem logical to me. And so
Right.
I would entertain it, but I couldn't find myself buying into it. And she would just have this, in my opinion, blind faith. And I would go and I would almost like hope that I could be inspired and like would feel this, but it just never came to me. And
Right.
eventually I gave up. And I didn't grow
Right.
up religious. My parents weren't religious.
You see,
And
I
so I think
did.
I
Yeah.
always, yeah,
Yeah, I grew up
yeah.
in a
So
Christian Christian slash Baptist slash Catholic, just religious family, period. So
gotcha. Yeah.
yes, I grew up
So
going
it's
to
interesting.
church and several times a week, and yes. So and then I had my own
So interesting.
questions as I continued to along my journey. Questions start coming happening inside of me that had me doubting and questioning and just rearranging the way that I see things. And so but go ahead. I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. So I think once I would go to the church and witness all of this, I eventually just kind of gave up on it because it just didn't, it seemed like pretend to me, and it just didn't resonate. And then when I
Right.
found personal development, and like I said, I found The Secret, that
Right.
seemed like, okay, this makes sense. You just order whatever you want, like a catalog from the universe. And so logically it made sense to me. It's like, okay, I could just manifest and then it comes to me. Okay, great. But then when I really started thinking about it on a deeper level, it's like, well, who's fulfilling the order? like
Right.
doesn't it, like, there has to be something, then there has to be some divinity that created this. And so once I started thinking like more like deeply and deeper and deeper, I'm like, okay, there has to be something. And
Right.
like that's when my brain would start hurting, like, okay, this is getting too deep for me, right? And then I think once I had that visceral physical experience of feeling that unconditional love in my body,
Right.
that's when it was like, okay, I can't deny this. There's something bigger outside of me that you got to put away the logic. And I think for me, that's what it took in order for me to like truly become, for lack of better words, a believer,
Right.
because that I can't make that up, that physical
Right.
experience. And again, I wasn't on drugs, because that's another thing. If you are on drugs, I'm just going to say what it is. Because if you are on drugs, there's an element of, it could be the drugs, right? It could be
Right.
psychedelics.
Right.
So the fact that I was completely sober, it's like, okay, there was nothing else that could interfere with the data. Again, I'm a pretty logical person.
Right.
And it happened twice. So that second time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pray. And then the next day, my prayer was answered. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, well, and then there's a couple other things that happened along the way. Like I say random, but now I don't think it's random. I met
Right.
someone who connected me with the first church I'd gone to in like close to 10 years. And
Right.
in the first service I went to, this will show you how removed I
Hmm.
was Easter.
Okay.
I didn't even know it was Easter. So I go to church and I'm like, wow, this church is packed. This is great.
Right.
And then the sermon begins and he's talking about it's Easter. And I remember just feeling so embarrassed. I'm like, I didn't even realize it's Easter. So it was just like a lot of little things that started to happen in my life that just showed, okay, if you have faith and you surrender, things actually fall into place. And then the
Right.
last thing I'll share is, I've one of the things that have been a struggle in my life, as far as like with my parents, my mom has struggled with alcohol abuse my
Right.
entire childhood.
Right.
And, she finally, this, when was it, in December? I was in a prayer group and we have like prayer cards where you can pray for one another, which is something I'd never done before. And I had someone pray for my mom. I've been praying for her. And she, out of nowhere, decided to go into rehab and get
Mm.
help. She had never
Wow.
done this in her
Wow.
life, never had any indication of wanting to get help in her life. I
Right.
didn't even tell her I was praying for her, and this
Right.
woman decided to get help. So I'm
Right.
like, okay, I think this works.
Again,
So
again, yes, that
so I'm just
yes,
like, this is crazy. It's crazy to me, the
right,
power of prayer. It's
right,
it's it's wild. So I understand that, one might swap out the word prayer for manifesting. I manifested that my mom would get better. It doesn't really matter to me what
right,
language you use at the
right.
end of the day.
No, I
I
believe in the
just
power
know,
of prayer. I have a book by
yeah,
Joseph Murphy entitled that same thing, The Power of Prayer by Joseph Murphy. That's an amazing book.
mm,
If you get a chance, get it.
okay,
Yep,
I
it's called
will.
The Power
So,
of Prayer by Joseph Murphy. Amazing.
okay. I will
It's
definitely read that. So I'm very new on my faith journey, and it's exciting, and I definitely am not an expert, and I'm learning a lot, and I have a lot of questions. Like I said, I'm
right,
a very logical person, and I'm
right,
just like, okay, a lot of this doesn't make sense. And then there's a lot
right,
of things in the Bible is very, very dense. And I
right,
have not read the whole Bible.
right,
So there's a lot of things in there. I'm just like, okay, there's a lot to uncover, unpack, and dissect. And trust me, I have a lot of questions. But so far, a lot of it does seem to add up and make sense. And I think
right,
we read so many books by authors all the time. Like I read A New Earth, Power of Now. There's so many phenomenal books.
right.
Why not read that one too?
Oh yeah, I've read that. I've read the Bible
Yeah.
front and back
Yeah.
for
So
years. I've read,
that's
yeah,
right.
anything before I can even have an opinion on anything. I'm not going to just um, say it from afar. I'm going to dive into it, and figure it out and what it means to me, and just get as much understanding as I can, and listen to also different other perspectives, different perspectives, and just weigh it in within my own spirit and
Absolutely.
use, like you said, prayer, whatever, to help to clear that up, get on the phone line with God, and get that some clear understanding within my own self. Yes, yes. Moving forward, because we're down to about 10 minutes, and thank you for,
Let's
wow,
do it.
amazing. Give us a little insight on your coaching. Is it a business? I mean, what does it entail, and how'd you get that going?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I'm a men's coach. So I help men in their 30s step into
Oh,
their
I'm
life's
too
mission.
old. Okay, go ahead.
You seem like you've got it together.
Oh,
Yes, yes. But I help men step into their life's mission so that they can live life confidently and communicate and also have a mindfulness practice. And so it's something I feel incredibly passionate and very privileged to do. And a lot of folks ask me, why do you work with men? So I'll just go ahead and answer that right out the gate. So I actually started with podcast consulting. I used to host several podcasts a few years
wow.
ago, looking to step back into it again.
How am
So I
I doing
actually,
thus far? Since
oh,
you're an
you're doing
expert on
excellent.
podcasting. Okay.
Excellent, excellent.
All
Yes,
right.
I'm
Thank,
having so
thank you.
much fun.
Thank you.
Of course. So I helped several folks launch their podcasts. So I mainly worked with men throughout that journey. And then I also have been in hospitality and sales for the past 10 years. So I worked with a lot of guys in that space. So just have a lot of experience working with men. But besides that, once I started to decide, okay, this is what I want to do, my first actual coaching experience was with a guy. He approached me for life coaching. I
Right.
wasn't actually a life coach yet. So I was a little
Right.
hesitant, but I was open to diving into it. We worked together for a couple of months. He experienced breakthroughs, and it was a very fulfilling experience for me.
Right.
I then decided to become certified and just actually do the thing. And then from there, I continued working with more clients, and it just became really apparent that there was a need for men to have a safe space to really unpack their emotions, their traumas, and just that area in their life where they didn't really have anyone to talk to. Unlike women, we talk about our emotions and our
Right.
feelings with our
Right.
girlfriends
And
all
that's
the
why you
time.
live longer.
Guys don't
You
do
don't
that.
you don't hold it in and then let it kill
Yes,
you.
exactly. Like guys just don't really open up and talk about their feelings with their friends like that. So
Right.
there's just
Right.
naturally more pent up emotions
Right.
than with women.
And hiding behind the
So
ego as well. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So I found
Right.
that just being able to offer that in a group setting and one on one has been incredibly healing for the men that I work with. And it's a different type of energy
Right.
than a men's coach. I think there's a place for men's coaching. So,
Right.
absolutely, I stand by men coaching men for sure. But I think I offer a unique and different lens as a female coach, especially for men looking for feedback, also from women. And I'm able
Oh
to just
wow.
hold that space that is a little bit more nurturing and not as aggressive,
Wow.
if you will. So
Abrasive. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. The feminine energy aspect.
there you go.
Amazing. Amazing. So while we're on that subject, do you have a website that you could share with us audibly here for people that are just listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to get plugged in is actually by joining my free Facebook community. So you can go to facebook.com/Men Rise Together.
Men
So
rise
Facebook,
together.
yep,
Okay.
Men Rise Together. So it's a free Facebook community. I go live every single Monday at 6 o'clock PST. So I just go over
Hmm.
different topics within confidence, communication, and mindfulness. So that's the best way to get plugged in. We have
Okay.
over 150 people, I think, in that community right now. So it's growing. So it's a great way to also meet other like-minded men that are on this journey. So it's great for networking and connection. And then again, we have those free classes every week. And then if you'd like to work with me, you could just send me a message and we can hop on a Zoom call.
Wow. Amazing. And I'll be sure to incorporate your links in the description of this segment once it's uploaded. So they can just click on there. Once I edit this and upload it, they can just click on there and it'll be on all the platforms as well, all the Audible platforms as well. The
Amazing. Thank
Spotify's,
you.
the Pandoras, the Apple, the whatever Play, this, that. So it's on all of those. Yes. So whatever platform, and I'm talking to everybody here too. Whatever platform, Audible platform, just look up Enlighten Empowered Evolved podcast and you'll see it. It'll pop up. I have a lot of
Amazing.
episodes on there, but that's amazing. And you said something else, and I just think this is kind of ironic. It's kind of funny too, but you talk to men, and I mostly talk to women, and I've even had a good friend of mine tease me about it, and I'll be transparent about it. He said, "Man, you seem to talk to a lot of women. You attract a lot of women." I think he knows. No, no, but wasn't using it in like a sexual way or anything like that. But what he was saying is that he knows that I grew up with my mom being a mama's boy. And so I said, that's probably the energy I'm giving off, that I'm more comfortable speaking with the feminine energy, even though I am totally, I embrace my feminine energy too, but I have my masculine energy and I'm totally, you know, to put it straight, I'm straight, and there's nothing wrong with
Yes.
if you're gay. I'm not speaking about that, but I'm a straight guy. But at the same time, I embrace that because there's a lot of things that I've been working on to undo that in my lifetime, that I was doing it more from a feminine energy perspective, you know,
Yep.
especially in regard to relationships, not being the calm man and letting the woman go through her things, joining in there with her, and I know I get that from watching my mom my whole life be
Yep.
like that. So that's the only example I had. So, you know, so I had to, now I can observe that and see that. But yes, no, I'm definitely comfortable talking to gentlemen all the time, and men. It's just, I've tried to change my whatever I'm vibrating out there, but it just happens that way. I get more women that want to come onto the platform than men. And I'm
Yeah,
okay with that either way. So,
that
because I
makes
get to
sense.
get a different perspective than my own, and I enjoy it. But as many men that reach out to me to come on, I never stop anybody and say, "No, you're a man, so no, have your wife call me." I don't do that. So it's
I
amazing.
love that. I'm curious if it's okay if I can ask you a question
You
now
can
that we're
ask
on
me
this
a question.
topic.
You
Okay,
can.
cool. So I'm curious, since you mentioned you grew up with your mom and
Right.
you had that as an example, what
Right.
advice would you give to men that may be in that similar situation? Because I know there's a lot of men out there that have that same dynamic. What advice would you give to men for them to be able to step into that balance that it looks like you've been able to achieve that?
Yes,
What
I
advice
would
would you give
I would
to
say
do that?
the first thing is acknowledging it, and kind of self-reflect and see how you've been dealing with things, and you'll be able to see that you've been handling a lot of things emotionally from a more feminine energy aspect. And don't be afraid to embrace that, because it doesn't mean that you're gay, because I know a lot of men get a little bit, defensive about that. And it's like, I'm secure within who I am, and I'm not being defensive, and I'm not cutting down anybody's preference. But at the same time, I embrace that. And you got to embrace it first so you can deal with it. Because if you don't embrace it first and shine a light on it, you can't eradicate it and balance yourself out. And that's what I needed, more balance now, because I was more on the feminine energy scale and not enough masculine energy in the way that I was projecting myself. And I'm not saying I was walking with a switch, chewing on gum. I'm saying the way I was just handling things emotionally, and being really more, and I'm not saying we all have emotions, but I think the way I was handling things, especially, was more from an emotional feminine aspect, because there is a more natural energy that we have, as men and as women. And I wasn't tapping into the it's going to be all right, masculine, calm, being more patient, you know, with the hormones and emotions of the female. I was engaging in it and making it worse. Yeah. So we're down to about 1 more minute. So
Okay.
yes, thank you very much for asking that question. And thank you
Of
for coming
course.
on, Tamisha. Thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you check out the website. Check out Tamisha's website. Go in the description and click on that. Check out 333empower.com. Hit the like button, subscribe button, share this video, leave questions, ask questions, comments. Thank you very much. Enlightened, empowered, evolved. See you soon.
Thank you.
Love, love and appreciation.